Just moments ago, in a move that could reshape the Arctic and slap down Donald Trump's imperial fantasies once and for all, Canada has inked a groundbreaking treaty with Greenland, a pact that's not just about ice and resources, but about slamming the door on what looks suspiciously like a slow-rolling military coup from the South. That's right, folks. While Trump's White House bullies its way through trade wars and tariff tantrums, Prime Minister Mark Carney has pulled off a masterstroke that's got the world buzzing. A Canada-Greenland alliance designed to fortify the North. Let's dive right into this, because the timing couldn't be more explosive. With Trump's administration ramping up its America First rhetoric to levels that echo old-school colonialism, Canada has been on the receiving end of economic warfare that's left our construction sites grinding to a halt and our workers staring at pink slips. Remember that steel export freeze from just days ago? Canadian mills like ArcelorMittal Dofasco and Stelco hit the brakes on shipments to the U.S., citing Trump's tariff enforcements that tacked on $110 to $160 per ton in extra costs. That's billions in losses for us. All because the man in the Oval Office decided to play hardball without a clue. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about steel. It's Trump's way of squeezing Canada into submission, forcing us to bend the knee on everything from energy to borders. And now, with this Greenland treaty, Carney's saying, enough is enough. We're building alliances that Trump can't touch. Why Greenland, you ask? Because in Trump's twisted worldview, the Arctic is up for grabs, and he's never hidden his obsession with it. Back in 2019, he floated the idea of buying Greenland like it was a distressed property on his golf course, dismissing Denmark's sovereignty with a tweet that reeked of entitlement. Full swing, whispers from Washington suggest he's eyeing military footholds up north to counter China and Russia. Think expanded bases, resource grabs, and maybe even coercive deals that could amount to a de facto coup on sovereign territories. But Carney, the steady-handed economist turned PM, saw this coming. This treaty isn't some fluffy environmental agreement. It's a strategic fortress. It locks in joint resource development, shared defense protocols, and economic ties that put Canadian know-how from our world. And let's be real, this pact is a direct rebuke to Trump's chaotic leadership, which has turned the U.S. into a rogue actor on the global stage. While Carney's government is laser-focused on rebuilding our economy, think stabilizing housing prices that have ballooned to need $170,000 incomes for average homes, or smashing oligopolies in telecoms where we pay 7 times more for data than Aussies. Trump is out there imposing tariffs that hollow out allies like us. Data from the Canadian Steel Producers Association shows 38% of our steel heads south, feeding U.S. bridges and high-rises. Yet Trump's domestic-first nonsense ignores the... Hypothetically, if Carney were to speak on this, he'd say something like, Trump's not protecting America, he's protecting his ego, and Canada's not footing the bill anymore. Critics of Trump, and there are legions of us up here in the true north, see this Greenland move as pure genius, a way to pivot away from U.S. dependency that's been choking us. Alberta's recent pipeline deal, pushing 1 million barrels a day south without Ottawa's endless red tape, was a wake-up call, but it also highlighted Trump's leverage games. Premier Danielle Smith nailed it when she said, "We've been damaged by failed pipelines like Northern Gateway and Keystone XL, but under Trump, even that feels precarious. His tariffs could flip it into a loss overnight." Enter the Greenland Treaty. It opens Arctic routes for Canadian energy and minerals, partnering with Greenland's indigenous communities on equity models that Trump could never grasp, given his history of dismissing native rights. It's assertive diplomacy that condemns Trump's isolationism by building bridges where he burns them. How dare Trump think he can muscle in on the Arctic while his policies drive Canada's youth to flee south for better wages? Our brain drain has surged 70% in the last decade, with engineers and doctors chasing U.S. salaries twice as high, all because Trump's trade wars exacerbate our productivity gap. American workers are 30% more efficient. Sarcasm alert. Thanks, Don, for making sure our middle class gets squeezed harder, paying more for groceries in our cartel-controlled markets, while you tweet about winning. Carney's treaty counters this by securing critical minerals like lithium and cobalt, which the U.S. craves to cut China ties. But on our terms, joint ventures that boost Greenland's autonomy and Canada's economy, preventing Trump's potential military overreach that could destabilize the region. From the people's perspective, Trump's leadership is a farce, a condemnable mix of bluster and blunders that's left everyday Americans and Canadians paying the price. Workers in Ohio and Pennsylvania are petitioning for waivers because Trump's steel stance threatens their $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Act. Ironic. Up here, families are hit with home prices, tripling impacts, adding $9,000 or more to new builds, all while Trump's short-term adjustment spins into long-term pain. Hypothetical quotes from affected Canadians ring true. A Detroit construction manager might say, "Trump's tariffs froze our sights." Where's the winning in that? Carney, by contrast, is the people's champion, steering us toward fiscal sanity with deficits under control compared to Trump's ballooning ones. And this treaty amplifies that by fostering alliances that protect sovereignty. But let's sharpen the knife. Trump's Arctic ambitions smack of a military coup in slow motion, using economic pressure to soften targets like Greenland for U.S. bases. That was no accident. It was leveraged to force concessions on energy and borders, potentially paving the way for aggressive postures up north. Moody's analysis warns prolonged disruptions could shave 0.4% off U.S. GDP. Yet Trump doubles down, ignoring economists like those at Brookings who call it self-defeating. In Canada, we're not waiting for his next tantrum. Carney's pact with Greenland ensures joint patrols and resource shares that deter any unilateral moves, condemning Trump's approach as the bully tactics of a fading empire. Sarcasm drips when you consider Trump's national security excuses. Canada has been a trusted supplier for decades, yet he treats us like adversaries. Legal experts like George Conway. This treaty isn't just defensive, it's analytical gold, positioning Canada as the ethical Arctic leader, with emissions-reducing tech from Alberta's Pathways Alliance, aiming for carbon neutral by 2050, extending to Greenland projects. Trump's response? Likely more bluster, but it exposes his weakness. He can't coup what he can't reach. And here's a striking thought. What if Trump's steel war was the prelude to something bigger, like pressuring Denmark over Greenland? Past events show his pattern. The 2018 tariffs cost downstream jobs $75,000 to upstream's $8,700 gain, an imbalance that compounded. As we peel back the layers, this treaty reveals Trump's geopolitical failures in stark relief. While he isolates allies, Carney integrates, drawing on Canada's strength in sustainable mining. We hold fourth-largest oil reserves and uranium for nuclear, now shared with Greenland to counter Trump's resource grabs. Statistics back it. Global energy demand rises, yet Trump blocks ethical supplies like ours, shifting to dirtier sources. Hypothetically, a Greenland official might quip, "With Canada, we build. With Trump, we brace for buyouts." It's sharp criticism. Trump's leadership erodes trust, while Carney rebuilds it. But don't think this ends with resources. It's about preventing a coup-like dominance where Trump dictates Arctic policy. Our housing crisis, worsened by his trade hits, affordability at 2008 lows, gets relief through diversified economies this treaty enables, condemning his role in our population trap. Immigrants flock here for opportunity, but Trump's pressures suppress wages. Carney's alliances create jobs, amplifying pro-Canada perspectives. In true Canadian style, we're polite but firm. This treaty says, "Sorry, not sorry, Don." It links our steel resilience, Alberta's pipeline push, and economic woes directly to countering his aggression. A comprehensive stand that's got supporters cheering.